So you're thinking about flipping computers for profit, huh? Well, as somebody who has been flipping PCs for quite a while now, it is not the easiest thing in the world. But if you are somebody who enjoys tinkering with computers and you love hunting for deals, then this could be a fantastic way to make a little extra money. Now trust me, if done correctly, you can make quite a bit of extra money doing this over time. Take this computer for example. We started out with an initial investment of only $500 and we built a gaming PC with that money, sold it for profit, and then we did that over and over again, rolling in the funds earned to bigger and better computers until we had saved enough money to build this beautiful thing right here. And the total value of the hardware inside of this computer is $3,208. So where do you start? Well, hopefully today I can help give you some tips to help you begin your flipping journey. And if you would like, you can hit the card up above and watch the entire process of us taking that $500 and turning it into enough money to build this thing. Now, flipping PCs is not a get-rich-quick hustle. From the start of the build-up challenge where we built our first computer with that $500 to the grand finale where we put this thing together, it did take a total of 6 months. But I build these for YouTube content, so I was limited to one PC per week. And in that period of time, I was moving from Charlotte, North Carolina to Florida, so I did need to take a little bit of time off. But we only flipped 21 computers in order to earn the total amount of money to build this computer. And actually the grand total of what we earned was $4,434. So if you're not somebody who's limited to one PC per week and you're not moving across state lines, you could earn that money way faster. And I know that some of you guys think that it is impossible to do this because of the used prices in your area, but I assure you it is still possible to do, and we will get into that a little bit later. So before you can even start this whole process, you need to know how much money you are willing to invest, because there has to be a starting budget, and that starting budget is going to dictate how fast you start earning money. Now, let's say you start with a total budget of only $200. Well, that is a very low amount of money, and you're going to be relying on extremely good deals in order for you to finish your first build. And usually those type of deals are for dated hardware, and that's gonna lead to a lower profit margin when you do go to sell that first computer. Now, let's say you start with a much higher budget. That's gonna open up the door for very strong hardware, and it could lead to a higher profit margin when you finally finish your first build and you go to sell that computer. In the first few episodes of the Build Up Challenge with the starting budget of $500, I was only making like $50 to $100 per computer that we were selling. But as we started rolling on and I started making more money, I was able to build much more powerful computers and much more beautiful computers, which led to higher profit margins where I was making $200 to sometimes even $400 per computer. So make sure to set aside the amount of money that works for you. Obviously, do not put yourself into debt trying to start this, but make sure you set aside the amount of money that you are comfortable with investing. Now, things have changed a whole lot since I was a little kid ripping apart my HP desktop in an attempt to turn it into a gaming PC, and so many more people are building gaming PCs, and I think that that is a wonderful thing. And if you're somebody who knows what you're doing when it comes to building a gaming PC, that is awesome. But for anybody who doesn't know how to build a computer and you're curious about trying, it's easier than you think. These days, computers are all pretty much just plug it all in and go. All the cables and the plugs, they really only fit in their designated spaces, and it's more like adult Legos than you may think. Now, it is easy to get hung up on compatibility and bottlenecks, but there's this magical thing that was invented called Google, and everything that you're gonna buy has a model number. So it's really easy to make sure that what you're buying is going to work well with everything else that you have. So for instance, let's say you find a really good deal on a motherboard and you don't know what CPU is compatible with that board. All you gotta do is head on over to Google, enter the model number of the board, and type in CPU compatibility afterwards, and just like magic, Google will tell you every CPU that will work with that motherboard by sending you to the manufacturer's website. And the exact same thing goes for graphics cards. All you gotta do is enter what CPU you are using into Google search and ask Google what graphics card will pair well with that CPU. That way you know what graphics card you should be looking for. And there's also bottleneck calculators that you can use to help you make informed buying decisions. So let's say you are ready to start. You have gone ahead and set aside the amount of money that you are willing to invest. And now it is time to start looking for parts. Well, how do you find parts? And is it better to start with parts or a whole used system? Well, it depends on what's available, and we'll go over both. Now, there really aren't that many parts inside of a custom computer, and obviously you can add in a whole bunch of extra stuff. But for a basic build, all you need is a case, a motherboard, a processor, some form of cooling for that processor, some RAM, some kind of storage, a power supply, and a graphics card. Now, when I am planning a build starting from parts, I break things down into two columns, and in that first column are usually the parts that are the most expensive and the most vital parts of any computer: the motherboard, the CPU, and the graphics card. And in the second column is the case, the RAM, the storage, and the power supply. Now, the reason that I do that is because I know that if I can find deals on the motherboard, the CPU, and the graphics card, then there is a much higher chance of me making a decent amount of money when we do go to sell that computer, because all of the rest of the stuff could in fact be purchased brand new and I could still sell that computer for a profit. Now, that does not stop me from trying to find deals on anything in that secondary column, because the more deals that you do find, the more money that is coming your way once you sell that computer. So where do you find deals on the items in the first column? Well, Facebook Marketplace and eBay are my go-to spots when it comes to finding deals to flip computers. Now, I would much prefer to use Facebook Marketplace, as you can find way better deals on Facebook Marketplace, but if I cannot find what I'm looking for there, then I will go ahead and buy whatever I need off of eBay. Now, the better question to actually ask yourself is, how do you know that what you're buying is in fact a deal at all? Well, after being in this game for a little while now, I already know if what I'm trying to purchase is a good deal or not, just based off of experience. But when I was first starting out, I would use eBay as my tool to cross-reference the price on any item that I wanted to purchase by searching for that item on eBay and then filtering it by the buy it now price and the lowest price possible. That way I knew that if the price of what I was purchasing was as low as what it was selling for on eBay or lower, then I was getting a killer deal and I needed to go ahead and get that item. And that exact same method of finding the lowest price available on eBay can also be used as a negotiation tactic on Facebook Marketplace. Let me explain. So let's say you come across an EVGA 3060 dual fan graphics card that somebody is selling on Facebook Marketplace and you want that card. But the Facebook Marketplace seller has it listed for $300, and that is simply not a deal. But when you search for that exact same card on eBay and you find it for $237, well, you could just go ahead and purchase the card directly off eBay and call it a day. Or you can screenshot that listing and send it to the marketplace seller. Now, don't just send the seller the screenshot and say, this is how much it's worth, give it to me at that price. Facebook Marketplace sellers are unbelievably easily offended. So what you need to do is you need to message the seller with interest in their item, but say that you found the card for a little bit less money on eBay, but you are more interested in giving him your cash than some random person on eBay. And then ask if he would be willing to sell it to you for $180 cash. Then you send him the screenshot. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does, and it never hurts to try. So now let's talk about buying an entire used build from somebody. Sometimes you will find people who are willing to sell you a completed build for a good deal, and all you're gonna need to do is put a little bit of work into it before you can sell it for a little bit extra money. In cases like this, I do the exact same thing as before, breaking the computer down into 2 columns, but this time it's a little different. In column 1, I will write down the total amount of money that I will spend in order to own that PC. And in column 2, I will list all of the items that I would need to purchase in order to complete their build or improve upon the existing build that I'm buying. So for example, if the computer I am trying to buy is a standard system with little to no RGB, the case is ugly, and there is no hard drive, well then in column 2, I would write a SSD or NVMe and a PC case that has RGB fans included. Then what you do is you take the total cost of the PC that you are trying to buy, then begin researching how much it's going to cost you to buy the upgrades that you want to do to the computer. Then you take the total cost of the computer plus the total cost of your upgrades to come up with your total build cost. So for example, if the buying price of the original computer is $200 and it's going to cost you $100 to upgrade that system, then your total build cost is $300, and now you just need to figure out how much somebody would pay for that computer. Now, to find out what your listing price is for your computer, there are quite a few different methods that people go about when they come up with their listing prices. But for me, what I do is I search my area and I try to find computers that are similar in spec to the one that I am trying to sell, and I write down the listing prices of those computers, and then I price mine to be similar to theirs to stay competitive. Now, if somebody is selling a computer that is very, very similar to mine for $500, then I'll probably go ahead and list mine for $500 as well, unless mine is way better looking, in which case I'd probably list it for $560. And if it sells for $560 and your total build cost was only $300, well, you just made $260. Now, whether you're planning on building a PC from the ground up with parts, or you just want to buy a pre-existing system so that you can upgrade it, the chances of you needing to buy brand new parts off places like Amazon and Newegg are pretty high. And I understand that that can be a daunting task because there are so many different parts available with different price tags attached to them, and it can be a little overwhelming. So to try and help you guys out a little bit, in the description down below, I will list a whole bunch of different items that I use regularly with links to check them out for yourself, just to kind of try and give you a leg up on this because I want you to succeed. Always remember that how good the computer looks is going to have a direct impact on how much money you are able to get for that computer. RGB sells computers. You can't argue me on that. It is a fact. And I can promise you that if you're selling a computer and the guy sitting next to you is selling a computer and they're both the same specs, but yours has RGB and is 100% clean, that's also important, and his doesn't have any RGB, or at least a little RGB, and it's a little dusty, you're gonna make more money than he is. So let's say you live in an area where the used marketplace seems a little too expensive. I've heard this saying a lot. I wish the marketplace in my area was better. Everybody seems to think their trash is gold here. What was that accent? Okay. Somebody is buying that stuff regardless. All I hear when somebody says that is that somebody would be willing to pay even more money for a good computer. At that point, I would just use eBay. I have done quite a few different full eBay builds on my channel, and I was able to make good money off of them. Use eBay to acquire the parts to build the PC, and then list the computer to reflect the prices of your market. Beat them at their own game. Now, obviously, if you live in the middle of nowhere and the closest populated town is like an hour or 2 hours away, then it's gonna be pretty difficult to build and sell computers. Now, you could give shipping computers a try, but that can get extremely expensive as PCs are not a light item. So if that is you, unfortunately, this might not be the best side hustle. Now, I know that there is some concern out there when it comes to buying used parts off Facebook Marketplace, because it would definitely suck to purchase something, rush all the way home, get it hooked up, and then it doesn't work. And unfortunately, that is a concern that you're going to have to deal with, and the only way to make sure that everything works is to lug around a test bench and monitor with you, which you can do. I have absolutely seen that done. I don't do it because I don't want to, but here are a few things that you can look for when talking to sellers to maybe ease your mind just a little bit. If the seller wants you to meet him at his house, then there is a really strong chance that what you're purchasing, it's going to work properly, because if somebody was selling something that they knew didn't work well, they wouldn't want you to know where they live. Go ahead and check the date of when that seller's profile was created. If it was created recently, like within a year, then I would proceed with a little bit more caution, because he could have made a new account to hide the bad reviews that he got from previous sales. Now, here's a fun tip, and this has actually worked for me quite a few times. When I talk to the sellers, we negotiate price, we come up with a time and a place where we're going to meet, and then what I'll do is I'll tell that seller, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna bring a test bench and monitor with me so that you and I can test that item before I go ahead and pay for it, and ask if that's all right. I can promise you, if the person selling the computer knows that what he is selling does not work, he is going to ghost you. He will not talk to you anymore. But if the person that's selling you this item says, yeah, sure, that's fine, then you have a much stronger possibility that everything that you're about to buy works just fine and he has no problem with you testing it. It's a nice way to ease your mind a little bit. And then when you show up with no test bench, just say, I don't want to bring it, it's too heavy. He won't care, you're paying him. Now, when it comes to buying off eBay, it's a lot easier. Just look at their profile. I can promise you, if they have 400 plus sales and a 99% satisfaction rating, then there is almost a 100% chance that whatever you're gonna buy from him works as intended. eBay sellers work really hard for those ratings, and it would blow my mind if somebody with that kind of statistics like scammed you. It would be the weirdest thing ever. Now, as you continue to flip computers, you naturally become better at spotting good deals and negotiating with people online to make sure that your computers are priced accordingly and you're not overpaying for the parts that you want to put inside that system. Now, there is one more resource that you can absolutely use, and this is a real big one, and that is to join the PC Rehab Discord server. In my server, there are tons of people who are way better at flipping computers than I am, and we love helping people. So all you have to do is pop in, ask any question you'd like. We are more than happy to answer that. Oh, and this computer right here, I'm actually giving this away to one random member in my Discord server. So even if you don't need help, it might be beneficial to join, because you could take this home. Now, I am not the world's best flipper, and there are tons of people out there who are way better at this and way smarter than I am when it comes to flipping PCs and being successful in this. So if you are somebody watching this and you have additional tips that we might benefit from, please list them in the comment section down below. I would love to read them, and it could definitely help somebody out with their journey in flipping PCs and trying to make money. I want you to succeed, and I want you to be able to make more money. So I hope that I was able to help somebody out. Us nerds gotta stick together, man. But even if I was no help at all, I do hope that no matter where you are in the world, you are having a fantastic day. And I'm gonna see you in the next video.